Surprisingly, over 90% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. If you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button. It motivates us to keep creating and helps us never miss an upload, and Family barbecues were supposed to be the easy part of marriage. Good food, laughter, kids running through the yard. My father-in-law manning the grill while my wife, Jenna, showed off her perfect hosting smile. We'd been married 8 years, long enough to build routines but not so long that people stopped calling us the young couple. To everyone outside the walls of our house, we looked steady. Inside, I had begun to feel cracks. Late nights at work, unexplained texts, sudden trips to see friends I'd never heard of. I had convinced myself it was stress, nothing more. That day at the barbecue, I stopped convincing myself. It was late afternoon, the sun still heavy, the yard full of chatter. I was refilling lemonade when my phone buzzed with the familiar chime of AirDrop. At first, I thought someone was sending me a funny meme or a picture from the yard. I tapped the notification without thinking. The screen filled with an image that froze me in place. Jenna, unmistakably Jenna, lying across hotel sheets in a dress I'd never seen, smiling at the camera with a look that wasn't for me. Another image arrived before I could process the first. Her with a man's arm draped across her waist, their faces close enough that there was no pretending. I set the phone down slowly, like it had burned me. Around me, kids squealed near the swing set. My brother-in-law laughed too loud at his own joke. My wife stood 10 feet away chatting with her cousin as if the world were still whole. She hadn't realized what she'd done. Her phone had tried to send those photos to her affair partner, but my device was open and nearby, and she hadn't checked. Shock should have knocked me sideways, but instead I felt something sharper. Clarity. I didn't storm over. I didn't shout. I didn't throw the phone across the yard like in the movies. I smiled. Quiet. Deliberate. The kind of smile that says you just handed me the truth without me asking. I excused myself, walked into the house, and sat at the dining table. I opened the images again, saved them, then scrolled through the AirDrop history. There had been more attempts, though only 2 landed on my device. That meant her phone was full of them. I didn't need every picture. 2 was enough. 2 were undeniable. For the next hour, I moved calmly. I took photos of the messages I'd noticed over the last months. Odd timestamps. Emojis from numbers I didn't recognize. I pulled receipts from her purse that I'd once ignored. Charges at restaurants across town. Payments for hotels she had no reason to visit. I stacked them neatly on the table, each piece of paper a brick in a wall she couldn't climb. Outside, the party moved on. Burgers sizzled, beers cracked open, kids dripped popsicles on the grass. Every few minutes, Jenna poked her head in, smiling, asking if I was okay. Just organizing a few things, I said each time, calm as glass. She didn't suspect. By dessert, I had a small binder ready, photos, receipts, screenshots, assembled like a case file. I walked outside, joined the family circle, and placed the binder on the picnic table, without a word. "What's this?" her cousin asked, flipping it open. The first photo stared back. Jenna on hotel sheets. The laughter around the table died like a switch flipped. My father-in-law's spatula slipped from his hand and clattered against the grill. Jenna froze. "Wait, what is—" I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The evidence turned the air heavy. Her mother's hand flew to her mouth. My brother-in-law muttered something low, a curse aimed at the ground. Jenna stammered, reached for the binder, but I placed my hand on it first. Calm. Steady. "Dessert is served," I said quietly. She looked at me, eyes wide, panic blooming in her chest. The entire family stared, not at me, not at the papers, but at her. The woman who had built her reputation on control and perfection, now standing stripped of both. I didn't yell, I didn't explain, I simply leaned back in my chair and let silence do what rage never could. And in that silence, she realized the truth. I knew. They knew. Everyone knew. The life she thought was secure had collapsed in the span of 2 photos, an AirDrop gone wrong, and a husband who chose not to shout but to smile. For a moment the backyard went completely silent, as if even the cicadas had stopped buzzing. My wife's face drained of color. She snatched for the binder, but I pressed it flat against the table with one hand. Her fingers trembled over the cover, but she didn't pull again. "This isn't what it looks like," Jenna blurted. It was the oldest line in the book, and even she must have realized it sounded ridiculous with her own face staring back from the first page. Her cousin turned the photo toward her, then toward the group. My mother-in-law gasped audibly, whispering her daughter's name. My father-in-law muttered something sharp under his breath and looked away, jaw locked. "It looks like a hotel," I said evenly. A hotel she had no reason to be in. Her brother leaned closer, eyes flicking over the receipts I'd placed beneath the photos. "These charges are all recent." "Jenna, what the hell?" Jenna's composure cracked. "It's just work dinners, a joke photo. You're twisting this, Ethan." I didn't raise my voice. "The phone sent me these images. Not a coworker, not an accident involving colleagues. You took them. You kept them. You tried to send them again." The family murmured. People shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The kids, thankfully oblivious, had wandered inside to watch cartoons. The adults stared at Jenna, waiting for an explanation she couldn't give. I stood, sliding the binder toward her. "If you'd like to keep your story straight, you'll need these. I have copies." Her eyes widened. "Copies?" "Backed up, screenshots, files, receipts," I listed calmly. "I wanted everyone to see once, so there's no confusion. After this, it's between lawyers." She reached for me then, desperation overtaking pride. "Ethan, please, don't do this here. Not in front of them." "You already did it in front of them," I said, my voice calm but final. "I'm just making sure we're all seeing the same picture." Her father finally spoke. His voice was low, heavy, controlled. "Jenna, you've embarrassed yourself. You've embarrassed all of us." She flinched like he had struck her. Tears began to stream down her face, but no one moved to comfort her. Not this time. I picked up my glass of lemonade and took a slow sip. "I'll be moving my things out this week. The lease, the accounts, will separate them cleanly. I won't drag this through the mud. But the marriage is finished." She sobbed, shaking her head violently. "No. Ethan, please. I can explain. I love you." "Love doesn't come with hotel receipts," I said softly. Her brother pushed his chair back with a scrape and stormed inside. Her mother whispered again, "My God, Jenna." Her father kept staring at the grass, as though if he looked at her he might explode. The party dissolved after that. Plates were left half full. Drinks went warm. People drifted inside or to their cars without another word. By the time the sun began to set, only Jenna and I were left at the picnic table. The binder sat between us like a corpse. She reached across it, her hand trembling. "I swear I'll stop. It was stupid. Just, please don't throw away everything for one mistake." I looked at her for a long moment, then said, "One mistake is spilling wine on the carpet. This was months, hotels, dinners, messages. You didn't trip into this, Jenna. You built it." Her sobs grew louder, but I didn't raise my voice or soften mine. I stood, picked up the binder, and tucked it under my arm. "You should stay at your parents' tonight. I'll sleep at the house with Bean. Tomorrow I'll start the paperwork." She grabbed my sleeve. "Please, don't leave me like this, not like this." I gently pulled my arm free. "You left first. I'm just catching up." I walked out the side gate, the air cooling against my face, the sound of her sobs shrinking behind me. My car was parked out front. I got in, started the engine, and drove home. Inside our house, everything looked the same. Her shoes by the door, her sweater on the back of the couch, but the illusion was broken. I gathered her things into a pile in the guest room, not as punishment, as preparation. The next morning, she texted nonstop. "I'm sorry. Please meet me. We can fix this." It meant nothing. I was lonely. I love you. The excuses shifted with every message. I didn't reply. Instead, I called a lawyer. I explained the situation briefly and sent the digital copies of the evidence. "We can file for divorce under irreconcilable differences," she said. "With what you've documented, we can also protect you financially." That night, Jenna showed up at the house, eyes swollen, voice raw. "Please, Ethan, don't do this. We can go to counseling. We can make it right." I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. I won't be married to someone who mocks loyalty with hotel selfies. You don't get to burn the bridge and then ask me to walk back across it." Her tears fell harder. She whispered, "I'll lose everything." "You chose what to lose the second you hit send," I said. She left again, shoulders shaking, and I closed the door behind her. In the days that followed, word spread quietly through the family. Her mother called me once to apologize. Her father never called at all. Friends who had seen us as the perfect couple sent cautious messages. "Are you okay?" I simply answered, "I'm better now." Jenna tried a different tactic then. She showed up at my work with coffee, smiling like nothing had happened. My coworkers glanced between us, confused. I stepped outside, took the cup, and handed it back. "Don't do this here." Her smile collapsed. "You won't even talk to me?" "I've said all I need to say," I replied. "The lawyers will handle the rest." Her eyes turned cold then, a flash of anger cutting through the tears. "You're ruining my life." "No," I said, calm as ever. "You ruined ours." She stormed off, and that was the last time she came near my office. By the end of the month, the paperwork was in motion. The house would be mine, the accounts split, her belongings delivered to her parents' garage, clean, efficient, quiet. But the memory of that barbecue lingered. The look on her face when she realized everyone had seen the truth. The silence of her family, too stunned to defend her. The way her world crumbled, not because I screamed, but because I smiled and let her own actions speak louder than any words. And in that silence, she finally understood. There was no path back. The binder became the last thing we ever truly shared. After the barbecue, after the frantic texts, after her appearances at the house, I kept it in my desk drawer. Every now and then, I'd open it just to remind myself I hadn't imagined any of it. It was real. Her face, her choices, her carelessness. And every time I closed the drawer with a little more distance between me and the man who once thought loyalty was unbreakable. The divorce process unfolded like clockwork. My lawyer, precise and calm, guided me through every form, every filing. "You've got everything we need," she said more than once. "Evidence, timeline, witness accounts. Cleanest case I've handled all year." That didn't make it easier, but it did make it efficient. Jenna fought at first. She tried to bargain for the house, for the savings account, for a share of what she hadn't built. But the binder spoke louder than her pleas. My lawyer slid it across the table in mediation, and her lawyer looked at her with disbelief. "You didn't tell me there was photographic evidence," he hissed. She had no answer. Within a week, she agreed to terms. I kept the house. I kept my accounts. She left with her car, her clothes, and a reputation shredded not by gossip but by her own hand. But she didn't stop. Trying to reach me. Late-night calls, letters slipped under my door. Once a bouquet of flowers appeared on the porch with a note. "Please remember who we were before this." I left them there until the petals browned and fell apart. Her family didn't protect her this time. Her father, a man of few words, called me once. "I raised her better than this," he said, voice low and heavy. "I'm sorry, son." I could hear the shame more than the apology. Her mother wrote a short letter that simply said, "We understand why you're doing this. We wish it were different, but we don't blame you." Friends divided themselves. Some tried to stay neutral, but neutrality has gravity. It drags toward truth. Slowly, more of them drifted my way. They saw her desperation, her inconsistency, the way she tried to frame it as a rough patch when the evidence said otherwise. They stopped asking me for details. They didn't need them. Meanwhile, Jenna unraveled. I saw it in fragments. Social media posts that grew more erratic. Photos where her smile was stretched too thin. Whispers from mutual acquaintances about her struggling at work. Apparently, her boss had caught wind of the scandal after one of her cousins let it slip. Professional polish and personal chaos don't mix well. And soon she was reassigned, then quietly phased out. She texted me once, months later. "I lost my job. Are you happy now?" I didn't reply. My happiness had nothing to do with her downfall. It came from waking up without lies in the room. The final court date arrived on a gray Thursday morning. The judge reviewed the paperwork, the terms, the binder. He looked at me, then at her, then back down at the documents. "Irreconcilable differences," he said simply. "Divorce granted." And just like that, Years of marriage ended with a single sentence. Jenna sat stiffly beside her lawyer, eyes red, fingers twisting the hem of her skirt. She didn't look at me. I didn't look at her. When we stepped outside, she tried one last time. "Ethan, please, can we at least talk? Off the record? Just us?" I shook my head. "There is no us anymore, Jenna. You ended that with one careless airdrop." Her face crumpled, and for the first time, I felt something like pity. Not love, not anger, just pity for someone who had gambled everything on secrecy and lost it all in a single click. I walked away, the courthouse doors closing behind me like punctuation. The weeks after the divorce felt like spring cleaning after a long winter. I cleared out drawers that had held her things. I repainted the bedroom, not to erase her but to claim it. I adopted new routines, morning runs, cooking meals that didn't cater to her tastes, calling friends I hadn't seen in years. Bean seemed lighter too, tail wagging more, no longer waiting by the door at midnight. Dogs know when the air changes. The fundraiser my sister organized with our canceled wedding deposits became an annual tradition. Each year, on what would have been our anniversary, I volunteered there, serving food, handing out supplies, listening to laughter that wasn't stained by betrayal. People called me generous, but the truth was simpler. It gave meaning to what could have been wasted. Every so often, Jenna's name still appeared, someone mentioning they'd seen her at a store or that she'd moved back in with her parents. Once I heard she was dating again, but nothing lasted. The truth follows people like a shadow, and hers was longer than most. I didn't gloat, I didn't spread her story, I didn't need to. The silence I chose at that barbecue spoke louder than any rumor ever could. Everyone who needed to know already knew. Months turned into a year. I met new people, rebuilt old friendships, found joy in places I hadn't looked before. The memory of that barbecue faded, not in pain, but in clarity. It reminded me of one thing: lies collapse under their own weight. All you need to do is hold up a mirror. One evening, I pulled the binder from my desk and flipped through it one last time. Photos, receipts, notes, the story of betrayal, neatly catalogued. I thought about keeping it as a warning, but instead I slid it into the fireplace and watched the flames consume each page. The paper curled, blackened, disappeared. The ashes rose and scattered, no longer heavy. When the last ember faded, I sat back and smiled. Not because of revenge, not because of her downfall, but because of peace. My wife once thought she could hide the truth in hotel rooms and secret photos. She thought she could control the story, but in the end she handed me the truth herself, in front of her entire family, with one careless airdrop. And that was enough. A year after the divorce, I found myself back at my in-laws' house. Not for a barbecue, not for drama, but for a small memorial service for Jenna's grandmother. I debated not going, but out of respect for the woman who'd always been kind to me, I went. The house looked the same. The grill was still in the corner, the same chairs around the patio, the same swing set creaking in the breeze. But the energy was different. Softer. Quieter. Without Jenna's constant performing, the family felt real. When I arrived, her mother hugged me tightly. "Thank you for coming," she whispered. Her father nodded once, a gesture that carried more weight than words. Jenna was there too. She looked smaller somehow, her once perfect posture slouched, her eyes dim. She caught my gaze across the yard. For a second, it felt like that barbecue day all over again. Her frozen, me calm. But this time, there was no binder, no evidence, no audience. Just two people who used to share a life, standing on opposite sides of memory. She walked over slowly. "Ethan," she said softly, "thank you for coming. Grandma would have wanted you here." I nodded. She was a good woman. I wouldn't miss it. Silence hung between us. She shifted her hands, then whispered, "I'm sorry. For everything." I believed she meant it. But forgiveness doesn't mean return. It means release. I gave a small nod. "Take care of yourself, Jenna." She blinked, lips trembling, then stepped back. That was all. No begging, no tears. Just quiet acceptance. As the evening closed, I stood by the grill with her father. He handed me a plate of food, eyes on the glowing coals. "You did the right thing," he said. Driving home, Bean asleep in the back seat, I realized the chapter had finally ended. Not with rage, not with spectacle, but with stillness. The careless airdrop had destroyed her world. My silence had rebuilt mine, and I was finally free.